Tuma fair. Few phrases have the ability to elicit so much hope, yet harbor the capacity for so much despair as Tuma fair. I can't relate because all my girls use Minduthi guy. But I can't relate because all my girls are imaginary. However, the proposed tax on digital subscription services will hit hard, especially the Uber rides your mommy uses. Click in the link in the description below to watch Life Documented's video on understanding the budget for people who don't really understand the budget. I am a resident financier from Life Documented, Taicho and I, and stay tuned for more.
So welcome guys back to my channel. As you know, I am Kibs from Life Documented, and in the spirit of sending fair, I sent fair and brought to you Financier Extraordinaire, Taicho and we had a fun idea of discussing the theme. I know a lot of you didn't listen to the CS's address on the theme, but do not be worried, do not be dismayed. S on our chests, and we'll tell you all about it. So this year's theme was stimulating the economy to safeguard livelihoods, jobs, businesses, and industrial recovery. So we'll go straight into the definition of the terms. So the first thing that you may need to know to help you with our discussion is GDP. GDP is an acronym for Gross Domestic Product, which is the total value of goods produced and services provided in a country during 1 year. Another term we have is concessional loans.
So concessional loans are loans that are extended on terms that are substantially more beneficial to the borrower. For example, a country may receive a loan at 2% interest over a repayment period of, let's say, 50 years. A commercial loan, on the other hand, is the typical loans that banks give out. For example, a 9% interest loan to be repaid over a period of 20 years. So concessional loans are definitely better for countries in terms of their borrowing. We move on to debt.
So debt is the total sum of money that you owe to somebody else. Accountants may refer to it as payables, account payables, and we will discuss how much debt we have as a country in our discussion. Another thing that you guys may need to know is pretty elementary, a budget. This was the budget reading. It would be assumed that you know the definition of a budget, but if you do not, it is an estimation of the revenue and expenses over a certain duration and time. Usually, it's often written the different types of budgets that organizations operate with, that governments operate with, and for a lot of governments such as ours, we operate on an expenditure budget. That means that they will list everything they need to spend money on. They list, what projects we need to do. We need to build a road here. We need to pay for, these salaries, and then figure out how to raise money to fund that budget. So, as I said, it's for a certain duration, which is the budget year. The budget year is the government's financial year, and in Kenya it starts on July the 1st.
The next term we have is Economic Stimulus Program, and the Kenyan one, especially, was initiated by the government of Kenya in 2009-2010 to get Kenya out of a recession and boost economic growth. It was introduced, of course, by the then Finance Minister, Uhuru Kenyatta, and the aim of any economic stimulus program is to, of course, jumpstart the economy from shocks. Currently, we've experienced 3 shocks. There's been the locust thing, there's been floods, and there's been corona. So an economic stimulus program is definitely being engineered in this budget reading. Then we have grants versus loans as other terms. The main difference between a grant and a loan is repayment. If you receive a grant, you do not have to pay back the money that you've received. But of course, as we saw earlier with concessional and commercial loans, a loan has a set interest rate and a set repayment period which you must honor. So that's the main difference between those two things. You don't pay for grants, but you have to pay for your loans.
So would you consider fair a grant or a concessional loan?
That's a very controversial
In your
topic.
experience.
In my imaginary experience, of course, payment will be done by other means, if you know what I mean.
Moving on, we have VAT. VAT is an acronym as well, and it stands for Value Added Tax, which is tax that is charged on supply of taxable goods and services made or provided in Kenya, and on importation of taxable goods or services into Kenya. There are different types of tax, and we have the VAT, we have custom duties, we have levies, we also have reverse VAT, which has been introduced recently by our government, but that's a topic for another day. If you want to know more about that, let me know in the comment section, and hopefully we might do a video on the same. So with the definitions out of the way, we'll go straight into what the positives we found in the budget from what CS Yatani said. So Taicho, what are some of the things, in your opinion, are positives from the budget reading?
I think something I'm very happy about is to see the government changing its tune in terms of contracting. So the CS, Mr. Uku Yatani, made it very clear that the government intends, especially even for the construction sector, which has been plagued by a lot of expatriates and Chinese people taking their jobs, he's actually insisted that the government will prioritize local contractors for those jobs. And also, there's something very exciting, which we'll discuss later, but it's about positioning Nairobi as an international finance center. That's very interesting, and if that's executed perfectly, Nairobi might be on its way to very beautiful days.
I agree. I think the advantage of contracting locals, and especially special groups such as women, youth, and people with disabilities, can go a long way into economically empowering these people in such a way that they can provide for their families, they can provide for their dependents, and we will see the positive ripple effect. Another good thing about contracting locally is that those funds will go back to our economy, and once that money is back into the economy, it will continue to fund a lot of our projects and lead us hopefully to economic prosperity. But when we are focused on contracting externals, then what we do is we shift. It's called balance of payments. So money coming in and money going out. So more money is going out of the country than coming in, which weakens our currency.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think I like that about the new project. Another thing that I liked from the reading was there were a lot of emphasis on paying back local suppliers, people who had been given tenders, people who had been given contracting assignments and tasks. So a lot of I don't know if it's the same with you, but I've had discussions with people who've done business with the government, and it's not usually in a positive light. They'd say, we did this work, I borrowed money from a bank, I borrowed money from friends, I got a loan from my circle, built a road, and 2 years, 3 years down the line, I've not yet been paid. And it frustrates a lot of businessmen because that ties up their cash flow, which means they can't do any more business with that. And if it was, say, a commercial loan, then they would still have to pay the interest on that loan.
Yeah.
The government, in as much as they always pay, there's some sort of Lannisters. So as much as the government always pays their debt, time is of the essence when it comes to local contracts. And the CS was very clear when he said that he wants the money paid, the money that has been verified by the Auditor General, which totaled to about 36.7 billion verified pending payments, to be paid by, was it the first?
It was.
He gave a hard deadline on the paying of those pending bills. So luckily that will put money into, Kenyans' pockets, and that will help them continue with their businesses and lead our country to a better position. If you can tell me something else.
I think another very strong positive in the CS's speech was the 8-point economic stimulus program, especially point 3, which was all about improving education outcomes. So, first thing, they waived exam fees for KCPE and KCSE for this year, which is happening in April.
That's such a good
idea.
Yeah,
it is a good thing. And they've decided to help the construction and furnishing of technical institutions in the country to the tune of around 6.3 billion. And they've also decided to appoint 800 million to the digital literacy program and the competency-based curriculum. Of course, there's been issues with the carrying out of the curriculum, and not all of them got laptops, but
we're still waiting on those laptops. We're still waiting.
It's good to see an allocation for improving education outcomes, considering how important it is for a citizenry to be literate. So I think that was a pretty good thing he mentioned.
And I think looking at how much money is directed to education, you can actually see that it is a priority for the government to have their population as educated. I think something that I liked from what he said from the address was he recognized the effect that COVID has had on our country, and he also recognized the level of, say, disaster preparedness that we are at as a country, and still wanting, and to that effect, we saw the CS allocate 1.2 billion in the support of the COVID response, and this 1.2 billion will go into the hiring of 5,000 healthcare workers to support and manage the crisis as we have it. Furthermore, he allocated another billion, it's billion with B, to recruit healthcare workers to strengthen the human capital capacity at the Ministry of Health. So there's also a lot of focus on the health of our citizens and directing money to support that effort.
That's very true. I think it was also a very good thing that, as you've said, you realized COVID was a really huge shock to the economy, and especially to local manufacturers who provide a lot of jobs for the citizenry, especially in the blue-collar sector. And to that end, he allocated 600 million to purchase locally assembled vehicles to ensure that those guys at least have profit margins to, repay the workers who work at those factories. And as being part of the 8th point of the economic stimulus program, he also decided to grant small and macro enterprises 712 million credit offerings to SMEs. And seeing how difficult the Kenyan business environment has been of late for startups and enterprises, I think that was a very good line of credit, because you talk to any young entrepreneur and it's very hard for them to get loans or capital using their ideas as leverage.
Mm.
And banks have really forsaken their role
Yeah.
as people who are supposed to help you refine your business ideas for you to get financing.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you take a business idea, it doesn't meet the cut.
Yeah.
But banks ideally should be telling you how to
Yeah.
create a proper business plan
Mhm.
and how to refine it to the extent that you can be given capital.
Yeah.
So I think him recognizing that and allocating 712 million was a very good move.
Yeah.
And it's something that should continue with even greater allocations in future,
Mhm.
because we need to delve into the entrepreneurial ecosystem as a country, for sure.
Yeah. Access to credit is very important for any economy to prosper.
True.
And when you deny that credit
Yeah.
to people who are willing to put themselves out there and actually innovate, actually start businesses that would employ a couple of people, which would go into supporting more families,
Yeah.
it's some sort of disservice, you know.
True.
And it would also be unfortunate that for somebody who, in say a period of time where he experienced economic prosperity, and because of COVID or because of another act of God, they're unable to keep the lights on, you know, and they have to send a few families home, breadwinners, people who are supporting, like parents back,
Extended family,
you know.
Yeah.
So it's very important to extend a line of credit, and I think it should be a focus of our banking industry to actually be very inclusive when it comes to opening up these lines of credits to our population.
Ensuring the dignity of your citizens, especially by making sure your budget addresses the standard of living and tries to raise it every single time, is a good step to go.
Yeah.
Sure.
So those are some of the things that we thought were positive from the budget. If you actually listened to the CS's address, maybe you can let us know what parts you think are positive to you, what things do you think might affect you in a positive way, and maybe you can have a discussion on that. You can also list the type of opportunities you think are available to you given the things he's talked about, the areas he's directed money to, and we can see how we can educate our community the more.
Be sure to drop your content on the comments. We reply. We won't politic you.